Good day, Canada. This is Stephen King of the Freedom Party of Canada, leader of the party. Check it out at www.freedompartyofcanada.com. This video is going to be about the climate scam. And you have been forced, or shall we say, propagandized by globalists over the last 10 years especially, whether it be with the Obama government, the Trudeau government, governments in Europe, Australia, and they have promoted the climate hoax over and over. You know, back in World War II, the Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler said, "If you tell a lie enough times, people are going to believe it." Well, let's talk about what's been going on. And much of it started with Al Gore and his Inconvenient Truth. By the way, Mr. Gore has made multi-millions of dollars with promoting the climate scam. I hope you check out our website, freedompartyofcanada.com. It's got a lot of information proving that it's a scam. The climate hoax and some evidence against it. October 1958, the New York Times publishes an article stating, "Some scientists estimate that the polar ice pack is 40% thinner and 12% less in area than it was a half century ago, and that even within the lifetime of our children, the Arctic Ocean may open, enabling ships to sail over the North Pole." At the time the article mentioned, the Arctic ice sheet was about 7 feet thick. Based upon the info from the Polar Portal on March 28, 2023, the ice is still about 7 feet thick. Let's go on here. November 1967, Salt Lake City Tribune said about the coming famine, "It is already too late for the world to avoid a long period of famine." Paul Ehrlich, a Stanford University biologist, suggested lacing the food and water with chemicals to sterilize the population. Imagine that. This is being suggested now as rich elite have suggested by the now destroyed Georgia Guidestones. They wanted a world population of no more than 500 million people. That would mean that at least 7 billion or more people would have to die, if that were the case. April 1970, the Boston Globe reported, "Scientists predict a new ice age by the 21st century." I think we're already 25 years into the 21st century. What do you think of their prediction? Citing a pollution expert named James Lodge, the Globe wrote, "Air pollution may obliterate the sun and cause a new ice age in the first third of the new century. Now people like Bill Gates want to block out the sun, and governments are using chemtrails to poison the population and block the sun." June 9th, 1971, Washington Post. "The world could be as little as 50 to 60 years away from a disastrous new ice age." They were promoting an ice age back then. Now they're saying global warming? Climate change? Come on. They continued, "The present rate of cooling seems fast enough to bring glacial temperatures in about a century if continued at the present pace." January 1974, The Guardian newspaper. "Space satellites now show new ice age coming fast." Can you believe this stuff? The propaganda. June 1974, Time magazine. "Another ice age? Telltale signs are everywhere, from the unexpected persistence and thickness of pack ice in the waters around Iceland to the southward migration of the warm-loving creature like the armadillo from the Midwest." It's kind of touching, isn't it? January 1978, New York Times. "An international team of specialists has concluded from 8 indexes of climate that there is no end in sight to the cooling trend of the last 30 years, at least in the Northern Hemisphere." No end in sight. My goodness. Wow. February 1979, New York Times. "There is a real possibility that some people now in their infancy will live to a time when the ice at the North Pole will have melted. A change that would cause swift and catastrophic changes in climate. Wait a minute. 1978, they're talking ice age. 1979, it's all going to melt. Can't they make up their minds? May 1982, New York Times, citing the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program, they write, if the world didn't change course, it would face an environmental catastrophe, which will witness devastation as complete, as irreversible as any nuclear holocaust by the year 2000. I think we're 25 years past that. Was there any devastation? No. There's a lot of BS going on here, folks. A lot of bullshit. September 1988, AFP reported that the island nation of the Maldives was at risk of being completely covered by a gradual rise in average sea level in 30 years, and that the end of the Maldives and its people could come sooner if drinking water supplies dry up by 1992, as predicted. The Maldives are currently still not underwater, and instead they are thriving and developing. New beachfront villas are being constructed there. Crazy stuff. Let's see what other one we got here. June 1989, the San Jose Mercury News stated a senior environmental official at the United Nations, Noel Brown. Hey, United Nations again. United Nations coming up a lot here, isn't it? It's something you should be aware of and wary of. Noel Brown says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming is not reversed by the year 2000. My BS meter is going off the charts. March 2000, The Independent, in an article entitled "Snowfalls Are Just a Thing of the Past," it wrote, "Children aren't just going to know what snow is. Within a few years, winter snowfall would become a rare and exciting event. It still snows in the UK every winter, especially in the northern half of the UK. Where I live in Saskatchewan, lots of snow. I shovel it all the time." December 2001, the Albuquerque Journal. The changes in climate could potentially extirpate the sugar maple industry in New England within 20 years, according to George Hurt, co-author of the 2001 Global Warming Report, commissioned by the U.S. Congress. 22 years after that report, New England still produces plenty of maple sugar. February 2004, the Guardian newspaper exposed a secret Pentagon report that predicted climate change will lead to nuclear war. Major European cities will sink into the ocean, and Britain would descend into Siberian climate by the year 2020. In 2020, the British climate did not remotely resemble the climate of Siberia. January 2006, Associated Press paraphrased Al Gore. Remember the guy who made the millions off of this? When they stated, unless drastic measures to reduce greenhouse gases are taken within the next 10 years, the world will reach a point of no return. Oh, the terror! Al Gore made millions of dollars off his global warming scam. November 2007, CanWest News Service in Canada paraphrased a polar researcher and stated the Arctic Ocean could be free of ice in the summer as soon as 2010 or 2015, something that hasn't happened in more than 1 million years. From there, the Arctic Ocean without ice idea began to gain popularity. You notice, when you talk about the Bible, we talk about something called prophecy. Prophecy is predicting the future. And a prophecy can only be considered true if it predicted accurately, if what they predicted actually transpired. Seems to me all these agencies and all these climate nerds are predicting, and it's all BS. But it goes on. They keep trying. They keep trying. March 2008, Anthony Watts. If Norway's average temperature this year equals that in 2007, the ice cap in the Arctic will all melt away, which is highly possible, judging from current conditions. Norway's average temperature from 2007 to 2008 slightly increased, but the ice didn't melt. April 2008, New Scientist magazine, citing the director of the National Snow and Ice Data Center, stated, North Pole could be ice-free in 2008. There, in this thin first year, ice even at the North Pole at the moment, that raises the specter, the possibility that you could become ice-free at the North Pole this year. Guess what? Ice was still there. Didn't go away. June 2008, National Geographic News. We're actually projecting this year that the North Pole may be free of ice for the first time in history. You projected wrong. December 14th, 2009, USA Today, citing Al Gore again, Mr. Millionaire. The Arctic Ocean may be nearly ice-free in summer as early as 2014. 11 years later, lots of ice. Summer 2012, The Australian wrote, enjoy snow now. By 2020, it'll be gone. Bullshit. July 2013, The Guardian, ice-free Arctic in 2 years. Heralds methane catastrophe. August 2017, The Sydney Morning Herald wrote, snowy retreat. Climate change puts Australia's ski industry on a downhill slope. Australia has been snowing quite as usual in recent years. I'll be honest, I didn't know Australia had snow. Apparently they do. January 2018, Forbes cites a Harvard professor stated the chance that there will be any permanent ice left in the Arctic after 2022 is essentially zero. There is currently, in 2025, about 5.6 million square miles of Arctic sea ice. June 2018, climate activist Greta Thunberg, our little puppet for the climate change gurus. Greta Thunberg shared a story on Twitter entitled, Top Climate Scientist. Humans, get this, they're really going crazy. Humans will go extinct if we don't fix climate change by 2023. She then added, a top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels in the next 5 years. Greta decided to delete that particular tweet earlier in 2023. Things that make you go, January 2020, Glacier National Park had to replace one of their signs that predicted that glaciers would be gone by 2020. Imagine that. They put up a sign in the Glacier National Park. Glaciers might be gone by 2020. 2020 comes around. Oops, we better get rid of that sign. We were wrong. It would have been real awkward to read that sign, wouldn't it? December 2021, the LA Times ran a story titled, A No-Snow California Could Come Sooner Than You Think. A few weeks later, researchers at UC Berkeley announced California had the snowiest December on record. August 22, Bloomberg reported, the end of snow threatens to upend 76 million American lives. Just a few months later, the Sierra Nevada mountains saw their second snowiest winter on record. doomsday clock in Union Square claims that we only have a few years left. Approximately 6 years on the clock. Do you believe it? There are mostly young people at the climate protests because most of them have not lived through over 50 years of failed climate predictions. Okay, I mean, I could go on and on and on, folks. You know what it all is? The climate hoax is a political move which is put forth by the United Nations and globalists, rich globalists, to try to bring in communism throughout the world. Okay? They don't want democracy. They don't want Western-style democracy. They want to control the world with their one world government. And they're trying to scare you, like they tried to scare you with the pandemic. It's all BS. They don't want you using fossil fuels because they know your life is going to be affordable with fossil fuels. They want to control everything you do. Freedom Party of Canada says, not on my watch. Not going to happen. We will be self-sufficient. We're not going to fall for this BS. That's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please check out the other ones. www.freedompartyofcanada.com. Stephen King signing off. Have a great day.